we've had a lot of debate about pricing for Nintendo games. That's the hot topic. And listen, it's not going away. Okay, more and more people are losing their minds about the audacity of Nintendo being the ones to raise the price. Okay, this is just fact. Okay, people are sick of this idea, right? But this just came out, and this is real big, right? So Paul Tassi says Nintendo says Switch 2 Breath of the Wild is $90 with DLC. Now, game's out. 8 years ago was released. 8 years. How is this not already included in the main game? Because Nintendo's, they're pieces of shit. That's why. But let's go ahead and let's read the article, and then let's have a discussion. So Nintendo says Switch 2 Breath of the Wild is $90 with DLC. This is from Forbes. Paul Tassi says Nintendo has had one of the worst reveals of a new console in recent memory, even if ultimately it's more than likely the Switch 2 will be a hit. Those are fair comments. First, a $450 hardware price, more than most were expecting. Then the $80 charge for Mario Kart World, beyond what any other game costs in the industry.
That's wild.
Then the Xbox One era quote from Doug Bowser that if you can't afford a Switch 2, you can simply
let me
use the
amend
Switch
that.
1.
Also, PlayStation 3 quote, get a second
Yes.
job. Remember that? They
Yeah,
literally
yes.
said,
that one
go
was-
get another
We talked
job.
about this. We talked
was
about
worse.
this.
Yeah.
This is wild. This is wild that Nintendo has fallen into that, though, right? Like, that's the sick part. They're showing you, regardless of what you feel about anything regarding what's been going on, Nintendo is showing you their true colors. They are showing you they're no better than, I mean, and there's way other things that Nintendo has shown you from other topics.
Yeah,
like
this
they
is
never
not a
drop
new
their
thing.
price because they think they're better than everybody, all this bullshit. But for this is a different thing. That's just business, right? That's just business, right? Business is we don't want to lower prices, fine. But to come out here and say, oh, but can't afford it, go fuck yourself. Go buy that old ass Switch 1. What?
You know,
Crazy. Crazy.
I have an issue with the fact that people are having issue with the price, and it always comes down, that is such a disgusting answer, like, to have for that. Like, if you can't afford it, it doesn't necessarily come down to not being able to afford it, and it comes down to principle. Like, how are you charging this much for the games? And like, how are you the one leading the way to that? We've had discussions about games that have a lot more content and a lot more money goes into it. How much should they be charging if you feel entitled to charge $80 or $90 for Mario Kart? Right? And we're talking about like a fun game. Like, yeah, let's let's have some races, blah, blah. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not a story driven, like, we're not talking about that type of game. So it's very confusing that they're out here behaving this way. Now, again, I have an issue with the fact that they want to kind of bully the situation and try to kind of make it into a, if you had the money, you would buy it. Because again, it doesn't come down to that.
Yeah,
it's about what they're trying to do.
Yeah, like, understand that's like some asshole shit to say. Like, 450, most adults, maybe most is really fucked up because that's probably very inaccurate if we really calculate what most means. But I would say maybe most adult gamers can absolutely say, I'm not going to spend money on these other things this month or the next 3 months, and I'm going to save enough, and they can afford to buy. They can spend the money and buy
if
the
they
console.
want to. Yes,
it's just the value proposition is the argument, right? It's not about whether $450 or $80 or $90 is. is okay. And I can tell you right now, $80, $90 not okay, right? But the fact is who is doing it, right? And how you're doing it. It's
Well, we
crazy.
had the discussion about them working with NVIDIA and possibly showing up with a lot of power. And it's like, what is Nintendo going to bring to the table? That was, from what we've seen, it's not what we thought, right? So for them to just, even again, the Switch to be $450, that's also questionable. We're falling back into like the whole PlayStation 5 Pro pisser situation. Where is the value? That is the question. And now they're out there saying that, that's the worst freaking what was it from Digital Foundry? The one of the worst investments, or whatever the heck they
when they
said.
ripped the PlayStation 5 Pro.
Exactly. So it's what are you bringing to the table for what you're asking for?
Yeah,
it's not that easy to see.
Digital Foundry has actually been going in and doing a bunch of videos actually on the Switch 2 and specific games, and like Mario Kart World. That's one of the ones that they said, like, is this a generational leap? Is this a worthy game? Like, what you see, is it worthy of a Switch 2? And they put side by sides, and I mean, it looks better, but there's still a ton of legacy shit from the old way they did it. Like, there's still baked lighting on a lot of the stuff, right? The only things that have dynamic lighting are anything that you can break, right? That's the only things they have there. They have this whole night and day cycle, right? Except the shadows are pre-baked. So in the morning, the shadows are in one place. In the nighttime, the shadows are in the same fucking place.
And shout
it's
out
in the
to
same place.
Yeah, that's the problem,
for
right?
$450 and $80. Come on,
this
man.
is what they feel should be leading the way. If you are on a new console and you're charging a lot more money, right? Because we're talking about, and we said it. See, we said this is not going to be the only game that they're going to go ahead, and this is just a way to ease people into it, but they're going to be charging this much for all of their crap. At the end of the day, Pragmatic, shout out to Pragmatic, he said on one of our shows, where does the discussion come in where it's like, well, the new game looks better? Of course it looks better. It should look better. It's a new game, especially when it's going to a new console. It's ridiculous, the discussion that, yes, look, this is where it's better than the last game they had. It should be. That's a given. It's a new game. Innovation, creativity, it all should kick in. New tech.
Yeah, it's a little frustrating because it was like touted as like the most expensive game that they were ever making, and it's like,
so
shit ain't cool,
that's just because they never spent a lot on their games to begin with. That's
exactly
the problem. Look,
I didn't spend $10. I spent $11.99.
I need that back and then some.
Yeah, I'm not as worried about the hardware cost, but I will delve into that later. But for Mario Kart World to come out and say it needs $80, it steals some capabilities from many other games, including Forza Horizon, which, by the way, Forza Horizon 5 came out at $60. And you can just look at the actual difference in quality. It's night and day. Like, there's just no way to compare the two. Yet that game is $60. It was in Game Pass day and date. They did not charge $70 when you bought it on an Xbox Series console, right? It was an Xbox One game. It was also on Series consoles, right? So they could have charged the uplift. They didn't, right? It's a $60 game for Xbox Series consoles as well. I don't understand how they think that that's reasonable. The only way you can see that is they're so conceited that they don't see the rest of the industry as competing with them. Well, unfortunately for them, they do compete with them. And there are other games out there. There are other kart racers out there. And at some point, people might just say, why? What are you bringing to the table that's that compelling, right? I'm still questioning whether I'm going to buy it at launch. I don't know. I'm still questioning it because, like you said, Doodle, I was looking for that mainline game. It's like, the Forza Horizon, Forza Gears and Halo, right? I want one of those if you're going to launch a console. And that was supposed to be Halo. Awesome. And then they showed us Forza the next year. Awesome, great, right? Where is that equivalent? To me, that's a Zelda, a Mario, right? Where are those games? Mario Kart's nice, but it's a sideshow to me. I don't care. That's great, but it's a sideshow.
Exactly.
You got Donkey Kong. Again, it's a sideshow. That's great.
And Donkey Kong was rough
Metroid has
from
always been a
people who
sideshow.
played it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
looks
Metroid's
rough.
also just always been a sideshow. I want to see that mainline Mario, that mainline Zelda. Why? Those are their top tier. That's their top tier. Where's that game? They didn't show it, right? And you're not really enticing me to go buy the console if you're not going to show me your best, right? If your best is you want me to pay $80 for Mario Kart, you've got to be out of your mind. that is not where it needs to be. I still think the hardware is pretty good, fine, but like you can't expect people to think that that's a good price for a game when there's massive competition at games at $50, $60, $70 from all these other publishers, and you're telling me that this game is somehow a step above all that. You're better than Red Dead Redemption, which is a $60 game. Are you serious? Red Dead Redemption 2 blows this away. Are you kidding me? Like, how do you even come up with that, right? How much is Elden Ring on this thing? Is that like $60?
Probably full price.
I wonder.
Probably full price.
Yeah, I think that came out at $60, didn't it? So,
yeah, it's probably full price. Yeah.
You're telling me like Elden Ring isn't better? Seriously, like they are just really at a level where they need to be humbled, unfortunately, and I think that might end up happening.
I really want it to happen. Like, I'm hoping.
It's sad if it doesn't, and it very well might not, just because it still has that stellar first party.
I think initially they won't. You know what I'm saying? I think that's going to be the
that rush.
Because I think
it's the question of, will they have the long tail? Here's the problem, right? And I'm going to get in the hardware cost. A lot of people assume it's going to do pretty well. Fair, but understand the reason the Switch 1 does well is because, like you guys, like me, we have multiple in this house. That's the way it is, right? Almost everybody bought into it because it was cheap. You're like, oh, cool. Yep. I'll just pick up another one. It's cheap. I don't care. My Elite controller costs as much as a freaking Switch. Cool. Yep. I'll just buy another one. All right. When it's $450, you're gonna say, what's my value if I buy another one?
Exactly.
Right? Yep. It would have to be very compelling. Like, oh, the design pattern on it, it's a Zelda version or something like that. Okay, but I have to think about it, right? And, at my salary, maybe I say, oh, fine, I don't care. But a lot of people are going to say, $450? Mm-hmm. You're going to bundle the game $500? I don't know. I'm not sure, right? How many people are going to jump in, right? Because it was very common for people to buy 3, 4, 5 of these things. Mm-hmm. But that was because it was cheap. It was cheap. Now, I'm not saying cheap, $200, $300 is not cheap. It's still something, fine. But it was much cheaper than this. And now it just flips the calculus a little bit. Because now you think, with $450, $500, gee, I could go buy an Xbox for that.
It creates a lot more awareness, right?
Right. And now you have to create that calculus in your head, right? For some of us, it's okay. We are enthusiasts. We'll go buy it. But a lot of people, they make the decision based on, hey, I just want to play some games. I'm not here to be a full-time gamer. And that's where you get all this, right? So I think they got the 150 million because many of us bought multiples. I have 3 in the house, right? And I'm the only one actually playing it at any regular rate. But we have 3 in the house. And so this is just what happens. And there's a lot of people that are like that. So they may only have like 40, 50, 60 million customers. Of those, like you were saying, there's the enthusiasts who will say, I don't care, 20 million-ish, right? That I don't care.
Actually, we're gonna knock that down because I think if we're gonna be real, the only real number we have for enthusiasts is 14 million, right? Because that's
the
how many
you're thinking, right? But I think a lot of people just missed that was Wii 2.
Yeah, but that wouldn't be enthusiasts, right? Enthusiasts would know.
Maybe
enthusiasts would know. Yeah,
maybe, right? So. I think still they'll have enough of a market for the second Switch. So let's say they capture about that much. It may have a long tail. It may actually do pretty well, get up to 100 million. I don't know that they do. And this is where the other competition starts to really play into the thing, right? The Portal 2 is going to happen, right? We already know that. So PlayStation is going to come back into this. We'll see what kind of games they play, right? That's still a big name in the gaming world. Xbox is going to say, you know what? we're making something where you can just bring the entire PC library over. Well, that's pretty damn compelling. That's literally like almost all games. Yes, it also includes those Switch games because you can emulate them. But look, so you could just say, well, why wouldn't I just buy that? And you can say, oh, hey, the price. Well, it's $450. What if this is $600? But you can play everything? Like it starts to become a different calculus, and that's going to be an interesting challenge in the market, and we'll see how it plays out. I still think they have a very recognizable name, just like why PlayStation gets bought everywhere, right?
Yeah.
It's just at some point you have the enthusiasm things where it's like, okay, are you really providing me enough to make it worth it? Now they still have Pokemon, which is very large. They still have obviously Mario and Zelda. That's pretty large. They have their other little IPs as well. To take that away, whatever, that's fine. But at some point, you look at the other side and say, aren't there equivalents? And can I just play those, right? And so the market's going to start to look at this very differently. We're also a lot of, if you look at the demographics, we're assuming a lot of it's kids. It's not. It's people like us who grew up with Nintendo, and we might just say, yeah, my Game Pass library though, and I don't have time for this. True. So like, okay, maybe you catch me when the next Zelda comes out or the next mainline Mario comes out.
That's the thing. You kind of want to put a pin on it because you're not wowed, right? So the Switch, the first one, you were like, oh my gosh, this is so new. This is so fresh. Look at Nintendo. I'm so impressed, right?
Right.
But now you needed to go ahead because now you're coming in with another version of the same thing. And that's why the show was so crucial. And for me, again, to see so many third parties, it was kind of like looking through a window and saying, okay, so this is what you're leaning on. And it just reminds me of PlayStation. Sorry to say it. PlayStation. Sorry, Nintendo. I'm going to need you to show up with your freaking heavy weight and show me what you've got. Not some old ass games that if anyone is interested in playing them, they would have already played them on other platforms.
Yeah, so this is kind of where they are. I don't know how this is going to play out. I don't know if we want to get into like this is just about the cost, right? But the stuff that was said by Doug Bowser.
Let me finish reading this, and then we can kind of go pick apart whatever other things we want to.
Yeah, we can also kind of get from this that they're still going to continue with this. We're not reducing the price of the games thing.
Oh yeah,
so
yes, absolutely. That was a confirmation because they did have to shut down the comments. They were getting a lot of heat, but it seems as if they don't necessarily care about that. And this is why some people say it in the chat. I say it all the time. I speak with my wallet, and that's the time to kind of ground them and show them if we don't agree. All those people complaining about the prices, that's the way to show them, not by kind of giving into their, strong handling, bully ways. That's what I feel.
Agreed. All right, let me read the rest of this and then we'll move forward. So it continues. Now, here's another smaller example of Nintendo annoying its fans, but it's frustrating all the same. This has to do with its exhausting pricing scheme for old games. In this case, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
I'm so sick of it. Yeah.
The original Breath of the Wild costs $60. The DLC costs $20. You can play this on Switch too via backward compatibility. However, there's an Switch 2 enhanced edition of the game with better performance and graphics. If you own Switch 1 Breath of the Wild, you can pay $10 to upgrade. So over the course of its lifespan, you will have paid $90. If you do not have the original, Switch 2 Breath of the Wild costs $70. However, it does not include the DLC for the now 8-year-old game.
That's crazy.
Which would be $20 extra for, again, a $90 total purchase.
That's an issue. Huggy, you said it yourself. You said, show me Zelda. Show me Mario. Like, this game is so old, and to come and bring it forward. What is this, The Last of Us? Is that what's happening here?
Facts.
Come on, man. Like, we can't get on this loop on Nintendo as well. We're never going to get off the ride.
Seriously. There's no other. It's like they're just.
This is BS. Bring me a new Zelda. It's been 8 years.
Well,
however,
Tears of the Kingdom came out.
Yes.
2023.
It's been a minute. It's a new console. Bring me a new game.
They should have held off on that fucking. They should have held off on the Zelda if they weren't going to be able to do a new one in any time that was reasonable.
Come on, man.
All right, so the
it's not like they didn't make Metroid on the old hardware.
Yeah.
The new Metroid is not freaking Switch 2. It was made on the old shit.
Edition, but
yes, but it's
for the new
old crap
console. Yeah. And that one also from hands-on is like, yeah, it's cool, but the visuals, even though they look sharp, right, and they're smooth because of the frame rate, it's still simple shit because it's built for the Switch. The operative word here from fans is greed. Yes, they may be a similar cost to the OG players who paid for the DLC separately, but it's 2025, and when you make a final new gen version of a game that quite literally was also launched on the Wii U in 2017, it's pretty understandable that the fans will be upset there's simply not a complete version of the game for a reasonable cost. $90 for a game this old just to get the finalized experience is ridiculous. Nintendo is no stranger to pricing controversies, but the fact that it's in the middle of two other ones right at the same moment here, especially the $80 price for Mario Kart World with no explanation other than we think it's worth that much, it's just icing. It's yet another thing fans can point to and perhaps start giving Nintendo less slack than they used to, as they push further into becoming somewhat anti-consumer with prices this high, when previously the $300 Switch was one of the lowest entry points in quality gaming. It's an annoying trend that does not seem like it's getting reversed anytime soon. Let's be fucking clear. The Series S was the actual lowest entry point into quality gaming. I wouldn't consider Switch quality gaming. Maybe Switch was great first-party Switch games, but if you only own the Switch, you are not getting quality gaming.
I think what he meant there is like it's not like the normal mobile games that you get, right? If you play on your phone, generally those games are not like the full, story-driven games, right? The normal type of adventure games that we have. I think that's what he really is getting at here, right? I understand you mean the hi-fi fidelity, like the higher power games.
I'm just saying he threw slander at Xbox earlier.
With saying the same thing when they could have easily grabbed PlayStation, and now
and forgetting the PlayStation,
grab PS as well.
Which, by the way,
here.
The Xbox statement wasn't as bad as the PlayStation statement. The Xbox statement was, you have this requirement for being online. It's like, well, if you can't be online, we have a console to sell you. It's called the 360. Now, that's still a terrible message, fair enough, but it's not nearly as bad as get another job to buy a PlayStation 3.
Yeah, it wasn't about
that
price.
Was ridiculous.
Right? And I think that was the bigger difference, right? Xbox wasn't saying you can't afford it, go buy the 360. It was the always online bullshit, right? So that does wrap up the actual article, right? So so let's just real quick touch on this Breath of the Wild situation. Okay, I gotta be honest with you, I don't understand how they have this 8-year-old game and they don't have the fucking DLC just part
included
of the game.
Yeah,
like how the fuck
it's pretty
is
crazy,
that?
but that's who they are. This is who they are.
Do you remember when PlayStation was doing a layout to see how they can squeeze more money from the consumers, and they wanted to break up Spider-Man into three segments, three versions,
keep remastering games? We'll talk about that.
Exactly. So,
facts,
man,
facts. Yeah, this is just this is another fucking negative look at what's happening with this goddamn fucking console reveal.
Could
You know
have
what
at
I'm saying?
least included the bloody freaking DLC. Just could have called it like,
Dude,
Ultimate
it's
Edition,
it's
right?
imaginary.
Like, nope.
It's just enhancements to the game that you fucking charged us for. You know what I'm saying? Like
So
the
That's
nuts,
the
map
dude.
thing. I'm
and all
not
this other
with it.
shit.
That's nonsense. Yes, you could have added some things here and there. You could have enhanced whatever, but I'm not beat for that bullshit. Like I'm not trying to buy a console and freaking and these expensive ass games that you're showing up with to see if we can pause it and see the difference. No. No.
I'm sure it'll look better, but like still, it's just
Breath of the Wild is going to look
it's crap.
much better because it's just so
It's
much
much
more
older,
clear.
right? And
Yeah.
like fair
So
enough, but
they were. I mean, it ran like shit, and it was Vaseline out. So
So
now
there's
it's
nowhere
running.
else to go, CMoney.
Yeah, now you're going to
There's
be
nowhere
seeing the
else to
actual
go.
frame rate. Now you'll see the clarity, but still, fuck you. You know what I'm saying? Like that's an 8-year-old game, dog. Don't fucking come on, man. 8-year-old game. Listen, even if right now you can go buy Breath of the Wild on the Switch for $60 because they don't want to lower their prices, right? Sure. Okay. But if you're going to make a new console and have the balls to release a upgraded Switch 2 edition of the game, how the fuck do you not include that? Come on, man. Come on. No, that's bullshit, bro.
it is pretty
Yeah.
crazy, man. But yeah,
That's real wild.
It does not surprise me though. It's what Nintendo does. This is how they've been. They've got to get welcomed into the new digital world because they've been on the physical world forever. So I don't know. I
That's
hope they
another
kind of
thing
learn
that
some
some
lessons.
people may not like. These Nintendo games again, they hold value and they don't go down in price. So for them, I think I saw what you saw. Go ahead.
Vaseline. Our boy Pragmatic Eagle. Vaseline is the newest Nintendo sponsor.
I mean, it should be.
Oh,
Oh
that's wild.
man, it's
That's
crazy.
wild.
Oh,
It's
wow.
crazy.
Yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem. But yeah, I mean, look, this again, it's just when you take this and add it on top of the other things that have come out from what they've said. I mean, I've been watching a bunch of like hands-on from like outside of the normal
The usual
group
suspects.
of
Yeah.
people, right? So people who would be like more on the casual end of gamers, right? So I don't know if you know what's his name, Mr. Who's the Boss or whatever. Who Mr. What's he's like a super like it's a tech YouTuber. I think he's Mr. Who's the Boss, Mr. God damn it, he's huge. He just got
Drawing a
married.
blank.
He does a lot of tech. He's like a Marcus Brownlee. You know him, right? MBKHD. Like one of his competitors, who anytime Marquez is doing something, this dude also does them. And he's huge equally. Like he's really big. Okay, well, either way, he did a hands-on video of it. And he was at the event, he played it, he looked at everything. And for him, the Switch was his favorite console of all time. And he was looking forward to this Switch too, right? Like it's been 8 years, he's not a super old dude. So like for him, he said that 8 years is like a quarter of his life. Like he's been waiting for this next Switch. And he literally said that even he doesn't think that he's going to be running out to get the game, to get the console.
Yeah, they have to wow you. That's on them. They have to wow you. It's on them to wow you. And like if you're asking this hefty of a price tag, you need to bring it. You need to bring in your big guns. You need to
like
do
he's
that.
a casual. Understand that? You know what I'm saying? Like he's not a gamer, big dog gamer, right? He's not out here pumping out all these game stuff. No, this is just what he does on his spare time. He loved his Switch, and he played the games. He said the games don't look good. He said that they all look that even though the Mario World and all that stuff had like he noticeable jaggies for him, he said like he can kind of see them. He just didn't see like
the
that
value there. The value.
He says the hardware
yes
is a huge update, right? He loved the physical hardware of it, but he said what they're bringing to the table and the price that they're bringing it at.
That's my problem as well.
I don't think he's going to do it.
Yeah,
which is crazy because
they
that's
need
a
to wow
problem
you.
for Nintendo,
and look,
bro. There's a lot of people who watch that video. You know what I'm saying?
And they did bring third-party things, and they did bring that Bloodborne, whatever it is, Blood, Bloodborne 2, which is fine. But look, if you're looking at the core audience of Nintendo fans, are they going to gravitate to that kind of game?
Any of those things.
That's the problem, right? And it's cool that you're going to have that. That's awesome. I'm not taking that away from you.
It's a good addition, right?
But your core audience is looking for that mainline Zelda or Mario game to say, this is why I need this console. That's how you've done it in the past. It's almost always been that. There's going to be a mainline game. Now, you take the GameCube, and the mainline game wasn't really that. It was Luigi's Mansion, but that was still a fantastic game. But, by and large, every console, they've had a mainline Super Mario or a mainline Zelda to launch that console. And look, if you don't have it, it is what it is. It just becomes kind of like, okay, why am I buying this then, right? And if it's a couple $100, you're like, okay, fine, whatever. But now you're really asking for quite a bit of money, and at that point, you have to entice. You have to entice, and you need to bring your first party if your whole point is to say, because look, a vast majority of what they showed is everywhere else. You can play it everywhere else, and it's going to play at a higher fidelity, higher frame rate on those other devices. What's the incentive to come here? The incentive to come here is it's portable, it's good, right? But it's also your first party lineup, your platform. And if your platform isn't offering enough, then it's like, yes, we have chat. Dude, we've been doing that for freaking 2 decades now. Okay, that's great that you're kind of caught up. That it does not bring you to a level where it's beyond what we've already got. And, with Discord, that chat is massive, and both PlayStation and Xbox have those, Discord built in now. You have that PC all the way across, right? You have Discord. Do they have Discord? They didn't announce that, right? So it's still way behind. If you really wanted to entice people, you're going to have to showcase that big gun game. And I don't think they've done that.
It's like they want a participation trophy, like, okay, well, I showed up. I figured it out, guys. So give me my trophy. No.
I think they also just, they have a lot of hubris. They just think that they're in their own lane and that nobody's going to compare them. And I think that, and for a rude awakening, that people will compare them. If you're going to ask for that much, you are in the big boys league now. You're asking for as much as a PS5 or a Series, X. The not all digital, I think, is about that much, right? You're asking for a lot of money.
If you're in your own lane, then you need to show me what that lane brings, right?
Yeah.
Why are you showing me these old games that are on other platforms? See, the thing is that those games are coming into that platform to see if they sell, right? What is supposed to be guaranteed to sell when they sell a Switch 2 are those Nintendo games, because supposedly that's why people buy that console. That's not there right now.
Yeah.
I did put it up real quick. This is the guy I'm talking about, Mr. Who's the Boss. So that video he has 3.3 million views. Okay. It's not an insignificant amount of views.
That's pretty big.
And you got to remember, that's a network effect. So you got 3.3 million views, and then those people have a group of people that might be influenced because of something like this. It's crazy, man, but this is the reality. There's a lot of casual people.
It's nice that you bring this up, because you're talking about someone that's the go-to console. They're not seeing the value. So anyone who wants to act like we're having an issue because we're hating or anything like that, this is exactly what we're talking about. And again, had they wowed me, I would have been like, shoot, that's a lot that they're going ahead and charging this much. But I can reason with what they brought to the table and potentially lean more into going ahead and buying it. But I just, it's not there for me. It's not there for me.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It's all about this.
So 100%, 100%. When they have a lot of it,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously everybody wants more, but it's how you go ahead and get it, right? Like, I mean, let's be
Exactly.
real. Xbox wants more and more and more and more. And you know what they're doing? They're not double charging you for games you already own and getting the upgrade for. They're not saying, "Oh, let's go ahead and take a game like South of Midnight that is only 12 hours, or even though I put like 20 something hours into it, that
I
it's a
know. That's
smaller
wild.
experience. So let's not charge 70. Let's charge 50, right?
It's
Or
40
I'm sorry,
actually. It's
40,
40.
40,
Yeah.
even cheaper than I
And
said.
even though people want to act as if it's a triple A game, it's not, right? And it's the complete opposite here. Like, they charge less, they're more consumer friendly, and people just want to find what else they can ask for or what else they can bitch about. Complete opposite from Nintendo and PlayStation, where they feel deserving of this money. People want to justify, even though they're not given enough, to go ahead and deserve that money. And over here is like, no. Well, show me more. Show me more. Not enough. Not enough. Not enough. It's bullcrap.
Agreed. Agreed. Also, keep in mind, like, I know they showed a lot of like third party stuff, but let's be real, they showed a lot of third party stuff that launched on the previous generation. And the only real game that I remember for Dust Blood doesn't matter because they're making it for that console, so that doesn't make a difference. But was it the
Elden Ring is there.
yeah,
Which I
that
think was
launched
on
on
everything as
previous
well.
console. Yeah,
No,
but
it launched afterwards, right? It came out afterwards, but it doesn't matter. It definitely was
but
on
it's still,
previous consoles. It was cross-gen.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's on
Yeah.
it runs on PlayStation
Split
4.
Fiction
And
is
then
cross-gen, I think. Right?
Borderlands
Is Split
4.
Fiction on the old?
The Split Fiction, that I don't know. I'm not
That's
100%
coming.
sure.
Borderlands 4, I think that's going to be next gen only, right? Or current gen.
Borderlands 4, I don't know if it's next gen only, but it's still a cartoon, right? Like, it's cartoony.
Yeah,
So it's not pushing.
Isn't it funny? Because I did say to you, see, I said because of the art style, it actually suits Nintendo very well, and the game looks fitting to that console.
Agreed. Like, they didn't show Mafia coming to the Switch 2.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Take-Two was there. They showed Civ 7, but they didn't show Grand Theft Auto, right? Take-Two did not come out and do all that stuff. I'm not saying they won't be on there, but they didn't announce it now. When they did announce, Borderlands 4. I mean,
there are some games that they want people to wait until after they pull the trigger and they have the console to kind of see and kind of see the difference with what they're going to end up really getting versus what
Final
they would
Fantasy
get on
Remake
Xbox or
is
PlayStation.
Current gen only, correct? Oh no, Remake came out on PS4.
No, that's on PlayStation 4. Yeah,
right.
So
Remake came out on PS4.
And this is the thing. This is how you know, and this I found to be the most damning thing. Okay, Digital Foundry put up a video comparing not Switch 2 to the Series S. No. Switch 2 to the PlayStation 4. They did a whole video taking games that launch on PlayStation 4 and comparing it to the Switch 2. Which, and even in the way they talked about it, that's where they're comparing it. That's their point of contrast. A PlayStation 4. So you're paying $450 to purchase games that are comparable
to a PlayStation 4.
How
much is a PlayStation 4?
Well, the PS4 Pro, I think, is what they would compare it to, right? But
no.
But even PS4, you can compare it to that.
4,
PS4 has got to be pretty cheap now. A couple $100, maybe.
Maybe, but they did not compare it to the Pro. They did not. There's just a PlayStation 4. They did not compare it to the Pro. The Pro,
I've seen comparisons to the 5, the Pro.
Not from Digital Foundry.
Series S, right? Yeah, I've seen other ones that do compare.
Maybe other people have been doing it. Yeah. But I'm using Digital Foundry just because of their
You're using what you saw.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the fact that they are going ahead and saying, hey, this is the bar we're using to compare, because if we use the PlayStation 4 Pro, it's probably not going to be pretty. If we use a PlayStation 5 or a Series X or S, it's definitely not going to be pretty, right? So, like, the idea to spend that money
They
to
have to go back
charge these
generations.
prices and you're going back 2 generations is really wild, right? The hardware is the hardware. If you want to make cool things, like if you want to improve the body of the hardware to make it feel more premium, great. If you want to add some mouse tech, that's honestly is pretty dope. I wish there was a way that other people can use that, because that's immediately is a phenomenal way to just have an introduction into mouse controls without having to do anything special. Dope. But like, don't think that that is like fucking $450 worth of tech, but the games that we're going to be playing are 2 generations back, bro. It's wild. Everything they showed was PlayStation 4 and Xbox One generation for the third-party games that they showed. And it was a fun thing to do, but that's the reality of what it is. And again, Borderlands 4, the art style doesn't really matter. So yeah, they can make any game run at lower specs, right?
Yeah.
So I just feel like that when you put that all like that shit together, it looks pretty damning, bro. You know
I
what I'm
mean,
saying?
Cyberpunk, I saw some clips of it, and not so great. Not so great. And again, we're talking about, compromising, right? The frames, yes, they can go up to 120, but you're also, it depends on what you're looking for, right? Because then you're compromising according to what you want. So you're not just gonna get that. It's not flat.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, to be honest with you. It's pretty ridiculous that that's the scenario where we are. We kind of all, like, I think leading up to it, we all kind of thought that that's where it was going to be,
Mhm.
right? Like, power wise, we assumed that it was going to be in that PlayStation 4, to switch. I'm not switch to a Series S, somewhere in
Yeah.
between there, right? We thought that that's where it would be, and that would have been cool at 300. At 450, Hargeet, you made the perfect point. You can buy all digital Xbox Series X that stomps
Yeah.
on the Switch 2 for the same
Now,
price.
to be fair, it's not a portable, right? There's something to be said to that.
No.
There's a battery and there's a screen and all that. Fair enough. That's fair. But there is a power differential, and now you're really kind of competing in that same realm. And people might just say, well, I could just get the Series X. Here's another thing. You could get the Series S and that little attachment screen thing.
Yep.
For a lot of people, that might be good enough as a portable. It just depends on how they're playing, right? If it's just I'm taking it with me and I'll plug it in the hotel,
Mm-hmm.
it's a perfectly viable thing, right? If it's I want to play on
Yep.
the train, okay, that's a different thing, right? But we'll see.
Yeah.
It is an interesting thing, and look, I've seen some screenshots between, or some comparisons between Series S and Switch, and this, the Switch 2 does edge it out a little bit in some quality levels. So
But
we'll
what
just
type
see.
of
But
game?
like Street Fighter 6 or Cyberpunk, or some of those, they've actually done A/B comparisons. You can just see them side by side.
Haven't seen that yet.
So
Yeah, I gotta go
yeah,
look and
so
see.
Yeah.
I just checked out the Digital Foundry one because
and this is why I just like, what? Let's not even get into all that. Let it come out. We'll know what
True.
it really is, right? It's just like the pisser thing, right? It's like, we don't know what this is really going to do. Let's just wait till it comes out. Like all this hullabaloo, like it was going to be a freaking 4070. Like, get out of here.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. So what were the what were some of the other things?
But the
Like, that you
S,
wanna
okay,
dive
so but
into?
it
Go
comes
ahead.
down to like how long has the S been out for and how much is the S? And if
Exactly.
you're
Yeah.
coming in
That's
with a
also true.
little bit of an edge and you're charging $450 or $500 if you get the bundle, and then you're upcharging for the games, like it's a lot more money for the games,
Mm.
right? So I think that there's a difference. You can't show up late to the party and expect more
Yeah.
money and a red carpet and then hold on tight because you're gonna have to really freaking pay premium for these old ass games. I think there's a difference. So for it to go ahead and edge out the S that has been out for freaking, we're ready to move on, right?
Yeah,
And here
we're
comes the
almost getting to the next
Switch.
gen. But look, I think these
Exactly.
things are going to be good for a while. I think the Series S and X are going to be good for a while. It's a good purchase even if you want to get it now. Anecdotally, I don't know how much this is relevant throughout all of the country, but I don't know if you know Gaming Forte. He works at GameStop, right? And
Yeah.
Yes.
what he's seeing is a lot of people are bringing in a PS5 to trade it in for a Series X, and they have stock issues, but like a lot of people are seeing the value now, and they're saying, yeah, I'm just not getting a lot out of this PlayStation, and I keep seeing all the stuff over there, and then there's that Game Pass stuff, and it's like, I don't know, I'm gonna go over there and try Series X. And so a lot of those 360 to PS4 converts kind of upgraded to PS5 and are now getting buyer's remorse. And now again, this is anecdotal. I don't know how much that's realistic across the entire
Yeah.
country, but he's in a major market and he's seeing a lot of people come in and like swap out PS5 for Series X. If you go to GameStop right now, there's more trade value for a Series X than there is for PS5. So that's kind of where it is. You just see that they're looking for for Series X consoles because people are trading up to a Series X. This was always going to happen when the enthusiasm gap switches, right?
Yeah.
When all you're getting, and this is one of the topics I'm sure, is remaster, right, of the same freaking game over and over and over and over again. At some point, you're going to say, well, okay, I can play that game again. Can I get a new one? Right? When's the new game? Like, we're gonna get Oblivion. That seems to be pretty much locked at this point. We're gonna get Oblivion, right? Cool. That game is pretty old. We're talking like 2 decades old, right? Fine, but that's not all we're getting. It's coming along with South of Midnight, with Avowed, with Doom: The Dark Ages. We're getting Outer Worlds 2. We're going to get a Call of Duty, and on and on and on, right? Ninja Gaiden 4. Look, we're getting games, right? Brand new games, along with some older games get touched up. Fine. I don't
Game
mind
Pass,
that.
by the way.
Yeah, but I don't mind that as long as you give me new stuff, right? Give me the new games too, right? And that's kind of where they're just lacking. And it's like, okay, fine. If you think MLB The Show is great, fine, well, whatever. If you think that the one game that's maybe coming this year, Ghost of Yotai, is all you need, good for you, right? I'm saying the Switch is coming with so many games, and I still don't think it's enough because I want that mainline big target game that they didn't give me, right? And like I just need that. I don't know. I'm not sure what the enthusiasm is on the PlayStation side. If you're a casual gamer, why would you want that versus the other side, right? There's just so much more excitement. There just is. And so that's so anecdotal, but I thought it was an interesting point that like people are trading in PS5s to get a Series X because they're like, that's where the fun is. And like they're going to see Showcase this year again. There's lots to come, right? We still have so many more games. Right, so it's just going to keep steamrolling, and you just look at that and say, okay, maybe some of those will come over to PlayStation. Maybe they won't, right? There's no release date for Avowed on PlayStation. There's no release date for South of Midnight on PlayStation, right? I don't know if that Outer Worlds, I think, isn't coming. I think they put that PS5 logo there, right?
Yes.
Outer Worlds 2, I think they did, right?
Outer Worlds is coming.
So
there, yeah.
Again, I don't know when all these go over. There's still a whole lot of back catalog games like Starfield and whatnot that are still there. You're welcome to, and you get them all in Game Pass. It's such a great value versus what you see here. Let's charge more. Okay.